I'm Parrot. We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution.
Each week we interview top artists
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Welcome everybody. A very, very special, different day, Origin Stories live stream. We have a full house today. Co-host Parrot cannot be here today. He sends his regards to everyone. Says he is sorry to miss this, but he's going to catch up a little bit later. So before I give up the mic to this wonderful audience, let's introduce around the room. From my right, SkyGolpe. We have Eleonora Brizi, we have Serena Tabacchi, and we have, of course, Hackatao. Now, Hackatao is not going to be talking today. Instead, Eleonora is going to be fielding some of those questions. But again, we have a full house. So excited, 2 days away from a very special drop on Nifty Gateway. How is everybody?
Amazing.
Doing good.
Thanks for having us, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is an absolute honor. I mean, we've seen so much buzz about this collaboration, which of course we're going to get to in a minute. This past week, just being able to get a sneak peek and a preview of some of the artworks, a sneak peek and a preview of some of the very, very creative mechanics that are involved in this, and some of the very creative just choices that are made. I cannot wait to dig into that. So instead of me talking this whole time, let's start with a very important question, how we kick off a lot of Origin Story shows, and that's this. Asked a little bit differently, let's start with what was the origin story of this drop? And Sky, maybe you could field that first.
Sure. Okay, so it's actually a very interesting story because I think it all started last October in Rome, where Eleonora organized an amazing exhibition in an incredible place. And I was there with Serena, because I was with Mokta representing Mokta in the exhibition. And so I had the chance actually to exhibit my work along the work of Hackatao. And I saw his physical work for the first time there. And like when I saw his work, I was completely, I fell in love with it because it was so qualitative and like so detailed and like, the custom canvas, and so it really struck me basically. Okay, and there for the first time, I really start to have this idea in my mind that I really would have loved if I had the chance to collaborate with Hackatao. And then still thanks to the exhibition, we got in touch. We start to in a way to become friends and to know each other. And so one day I proposed them if they want to make a collaboration with me, and when they said yes, I was like so excited and so honored as well. And so I think this is the origin, but it's amazing that I think it all started from like a physical exhibition where I could actually see the work of an artist that I never saw, and for the first time it struck me, and something clicked from that exact moment. So that's why I think this is very interesting, because it was like an energy that manifested in that moment, and I kind of knew it. Since then, I kind of knew it that this would have happened.
I love the bit of that story that it started, in the physical art space, and obviously now has translated here. I find that to be very, very interesting. Eleonora and Serena, either of you have anything to add to that, to the origin story of this particular drop?
Eleonora, you should go first and tell us about the show.
Yeah, so I organized this what was a miracle show in between two lockdowns here in Italy, really like after the first one and just before the second one. So I'm very happy that happened. And so Mokta, the Museum of Contemporary and Digital Art, and Serena, she's the co-founder. They sponsored the show, so Serena took care of the panel, and she also presented a few artists, and one was SkyGolpe. So he was physically exhibited in the garden on a beautiful. I mean, it was very, it was a specific time where everybody wanted to be out and really needed the physical energy that is not doesn't happen anywhere else. And yeah, this is also when I met SkyGolpe for the first time through Serena and Hackatao. Of course, they were exhibited in the show. They had 4 canvases and 1 digital art piece. It was one of the most fun rooms where everybody was stopping by and scanning the canvases and having fun with the augmented reality. So yeah, it was, I have done that. So for me, it was magical, but really we were receiving people email asking us if they could come more. It was a very special time. So it's very interesting that it happened through again, like this physical energy, and then it continued through digital, but really I wouldn't separate the two dimensions. It's just, both SkyGolpe and Hackatao are a perfect example of how we shouldn't even classify or divide art in categories. They both operate in physical and digital. And yeah, so I'm happy that the show brought to this project.
Wonderful. Serena, anything to add there?
Sure, yes. It was, what Eleonora said, it was a miracle show. And in a way, it was also magical because we had a chance to finally be in the same place and to share something that was, extremely profound for all of us. And as it's been said, it was necessary for us to be at the same time and in the same place. The fact that the works were there and there was a mixture of physical and digital work, I think it really meant that the audience could grasp for the first time the similarities that physical and digital have, and the fact that there isn't much of a gap between what is physical and what is digital. And those encounters, have the opportunity to communicate and convey to the audience the fact that art is art and it shouldn't be classified for being digital or physical. And I think those 2 artists here tonight are really representative of this movement and how much has been done since late 2018 until today, and how this has been communicated throughout their work, not only in social media, but also in physical locations. So I think it's extremely important not to think of it as something that happens online or offline, but something that happens full stop, and considering it as an encounter, between artists and between people that happen to enjoy and appreciate the work.
It's fascinating, right? The evolution of a hierarchy, right? Making sure that art sits at the top of that hierarchy, and that any definitions are sub definitions, but that it really all connects to that top word and that top form of creative expression. I love that. I'm glad that you both went down those roads. Eleonora, if I could go back to you. So we talked a little bit about the origin story of the drop, but how about the theme of the upcoming drop? Want to dig in there?
Yeah, of course. It was, again, it was very interesting. We have been having our meetings for this project on Sunday mornings for a few months. It was the Sunday morning project, and so we started in a very relaxed way, just to dig into like a theme that we could all feel represented, and digital hallucination, like digital unconscious, collective unconscious. It's deep. So we started to put our thoughts together. We changed, on the road, we changed a little, but finally we all came to a point where we were like, okay, so who are we and where are we at this point? We we are part of a space which is the one of crypto art that was hidden for years, and now it just came to light. So the hidden concept was taken and considered from two different points of view. The philosophical one, meaning that, and we have Freud sustainer here and Jung sustainers who are Hackatao. So you see that there's a battle even in the philosophy, in the psychologists that we picked for the theme. But basically, that what you see when you see people is just the top of the iceberg, right? And so we like, there is an ocean and an abyss of unconsciousness, and that reminds to archetypes and the fact that we are guided by demons that you can see in the art pieces, and we were asking ourselves like how much these demons are guiding us when we are conscious and when we are unconscious. So the hidden world was taken from philosophical point of view in this way, and then from, let's say, social and historical point of view, it was what I was saying about the digital and crypto community and crypto art world. So this space that was there for a very long time and now has the chance to again come to light, and this digital unconscious, that shared unconscious, of course, was like taken and brought to light by artists who are probably the only creators who can see the future. So that's how we're hidden, pretty much. But I'm sure that Serena can add something.
Sure, yes. I wanted to share with the audience today that the first time we spoke, the five of us, on a call, I was actually by the sea, walking on the shore, on the seashore, and I don't know, I just recall this memory, and it brings back all the stories that Eleonora was saying we discussed on Sunday mornings, and the fact that the ocean, in some ways, has this deep sense of like connection with us as humans, and the fact that it's so vast and unknown that at the same time it feels like we know it so well, but we tend to get lost in it. And so there's this conflict between the desire of getting lost, but at the same time the desire of reconnecting with something that it looks familiar yet is unknown. So I think these conscious, unconscious feeling of this community that feels so much like a family, but at the same time is completely decentralized and distributed. And those words became more and more familiar to us and became part of our everyday, dictionary. It's important to pause and notice how these two artists have been collaborating without sharing a studio, but working in the virtual realm, putting a frame around all these immense content that could be never ending, but actually framing it to give it a meaning and to really focus on what the unconscious means to them. Something that I wanted also to bring to everyone's attention is that there isn't, I was talking to Eleonora today, and we were noticing that there isn't anywhere where crypto art is being told or is being, encapsulated in some ways. And we think that art is probably the best source where to find the history of crypto art in itself. And probably the fact that Hackatao and SkyGolpe work together, this is actually so representative of this specific time that it could never be found anywhere else if not in those works. So I think it's a perfect testimony to the time that we're living in.
This is fascinating. I like the ocean analogy a lot. I appreciate that in context with this space. Sky, to give you the mic and take that a step further, how was it working with Hackatao?
Okay, so it was an incredible experience, first of all, and I knew that in a way it would have been quite challenging as well. because of course is very clear that we have two very different styles. But that was actually my biggest curiosity in approaching this experience. And so we both really got in with a very open mind, and so like the first phase was more like really about like chatting, brainstorming, and like inspiring each other in a way, so just to get both of us get in, create this common zone where both of us could in a way create, but in sync, no. And so of course, like so one thing is that analyzing, like observing Hackataos from the outside before really getting to know them, I had the feeling that they were like very pro and very precise and very professional in what they were doing. And I totally had a confirmation of this. And this for me is even more challenging because I am very, like in a way precise, let's say, in my intent, but my way of working is completely different from the way that Hackatao approaches work. Because, for example, I am very instinctive, and we were mentioning Freud and Jung, and this is a very good metaphor and example, because, for example, Freud was more about, like the drive and the impulse, and like and that ancestral in a way moment. So when I work, I always try to capture a moment, and I kind of try to include everything in a very intense session, and then maybe I leave like 20-30% for polishing, refining, optimizing, whatever. But I really go to look for this very core session. Okay. Instead, Hackatao's work is very different in a way. I consider it more zen somehow, and more extended in a time horizon. Okay. And so this was the very first dichotomy that I had to face. Okay. And I was, and this opened a new point of view for me. So I divided the work in different sessions, which was something quite new for me in a way. But I have to say that overall, this in every collaboration that I'm doing, I always approach it with the thing like that I want to learn something, and I want to try something new, and I want to try as much as I can to step out of my comfort zone, because that should be the real aim of a collaboration, and especially when you do it with artists that you like and that you respect. And this is a super drive for your brain to grow, and to flourish, and to adapt and to evolve. And I feel, I really feel like that, like that now. I mean, I didn't have the time yet to, metabolize what, like these super intense sessions that we went in. But I totally feel like that. And I, like one very interesting aspect is that, for example, I never worked with a woman silhouette before. Okay. And that was really under their precise request in a way. They challenged me in this way. And at the beginning, I was like, wow, I'm not sure if I can do it. But then, I thought about it, and I actually began to think about the representation that for me was something very new, because in a way, every of my work is most of the time using actually always using the man figure, just because in a way they are all self portraits, and so I can kind of really find this intimate dimension with the subject. Okay. And so it was even in this case, it was a completely new experience. And the beginning was challenging, but the more we were working on the project, and the more new horizons were opening. And so I think that contamination can be the keyword of this experience, and that's what I was looking for. So I'm happy that that we made it.
Made it. I'm going to pass the mic to Eleonora in just a moment to ask the same question in reverse. How was it from the Hackatao side working with SkyGolpe here. But for one moment, just want to give a few shout outs to Josh Pierce. Art is in here. Hi, Josh. How are you? Crypto Value Italia says hi. Hippie Man says, hey, guys. Hey, Hackatao, love your work. May own a piece myself. And I, Luca, says hello as well. So welcome, everybody, into the live stream.
Hi, everyone.
And Eleonora, so to pose the question in reverse, how was it working with SkyGolpe?
Yeah, it was very nice to. Okay, so I want to say something from the curator point of view. It was very good to see them collaborating, but I have understood something just in the end of the whole project, because they don't tell, they you know, like the creative part is the artist part. They don't tell you what they're doing. So we will know about the theme, we will know about everything, and then they're like, can we see the art pieces? No, they're not ready. We are working on it. So it was very like intimate as it should be. But then when after we had all these art pieces, I asked them questions about like collaborating, more generally collaborating in the crypto art space, and how was their collaboration. And I found out so many things. So a few things were what SkyGolpe was saying, and from Hackatao point of view, they were like, okay, you know what happened? It happened that one day SkyGolpe just took a detail of our drawing and made it bigger. And we thought that you don't do that. This is not Hackatao. We cannot take this. It's too big, because obviously like Hackatao, what they do is that they're going to fill every little space with the drawings. And so, but then they said to stay in the spirit that Sky was talking about. I said, okay, we're going to think about this. And finally, they found out that it works very well. So later, when you will see the art piece, it's kind of amazing that for the first time ever, Hackatao, thanks to the input and suggestion of SkyGolpe that just took a detail and made it big, they actually kept the detail. And as he did for the female figure, which I want to say we were 3 female in the project and there were 2 male. So maybe that's why we were very convinced about this change that needed to be done.
Unfair.
But yeah, so obviously there is appreciation and respect from both sides. That is not under discussion. But to really see artists like pushing their own boundaries. So Hackatao, for instance, they were saying, like the reason why we really like collaboration, besides the fact that, like from a technical point of view, obviously the digital favors collaboration because everything is so much more fluid. But it's that you have to put yourself in a position where, okay, you have to collaborate with another artist who is obviously different from yourself. And not only you understand things about these other artists, but you understand things about yourself through these other artists, like the detail could be considered. So I think that the result is very, I personally love it. The art pieces are very potent. There are 2 different speeds of release, because SkyGolpe will say, I just need to release and get it out. But Hackatao, they have this need as well. It's just slower. So, and in the end, we also discovered, and probably the biggest point of contact in terms of content and the way they create is this fear of the void, where you see like SkyGolpe's portrait and they are empty, and you see Hackatao art pieces and they're all filled. It was very, I think, like two different reactions for the same thing. Very, very interesting to see how contamination happened, as SkyGolpe said.
It's funny, off air, Sky, you had said that you thought it was a surprising collaboration. And I think in some ways that's true. You see the collaboration at first, right? The first time you ever read Hackatao and SkyGolpe, maybe at first the emotion is, oh, interesting or surprising. But I have to say, when I sat with it for a moment longer, for one beat longer, it settled in and it made all the sense in the world. I was telling Sky, I started to imagine all of the possible ways that the artworks would present themselves, and it's been so fun seeing them now one at a time come out. Serena, let me pass the mic to you. And there's two forms of collaboration going on here. There's a collaboration between Hackatao and SkyGolpe, and there's a collaboration and a co-curation, better put, with yourself and Eleonora. How was that?
Sure, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. I think everyone came to the project with a very open mind, and this has been said many times before, but I think there's been tons of research that has been put into this project since we're starting our calls on Sunday mornings a few months back. We started talking about Chomsky, we started talking about the influence that television and media had on us. And then we developed that theme further into communities and what they represent nowadays and what the crypto art movement has actually changed, in the way we behave and think and create art, and what crypto art and blockchain has enabled. So I think we went through a journey together, and we took on several steps. And I think every one of us came into the project with our own ideas. And I think everyone completed the project having those ideas refreshed, or at least we came out of it with new perspectives on the ideas that we brought into the project. And that, I think, it's to me, it's an amazing result, because it's been a learning experience for all of us. I think from an artist standpoint, it's been incredibly fascinating seeing how these two artists that have very different features, in the way they create, could harmoniously create work together. And as Eleonora was saying, SkyGolpe, can be identified for these void portraits, and the fact that you can get lost in the painting because, it can communicate so much by not adding details, but actually removing, whereas the opposite for Hackatao, where so many details and the narrative within every single tiny story within every other story is connected. And I think finding those two kind of like themes and thematics within that works combined, it's extremely profound. So I think in terms of the curation, we analyzed all those aspects, the research part and also the aesthetic part, and we tried to make sense and document the process. And I think the result of it, the descriptions that we created and the narrative that we build around it, it wants to, in a way, narrate what happened without interfering too much. So we simply try to be the voice and the hands of the artist and putting these into words to communicate it. But I think the other agreement, that the silent agreement that we all had, was that we didn't want to say too much, because I think that was also important, that we didn't want to be so descriptive of the meanings and the feelings that the artist had and wanted to communicate through that works, but also leaving the audience a way to participate into the work. So what it's been put into words, I think, is a hint of what the works can tell. But I think everything else is left to the viewer to grasp and to find meanings in that.
SkyGolpe, seeing the words come together, right, with the artwork, what were your favorite words?
Your favorite, sorry?
Your favorite words. So seeing that these descriptions, right, and the presentation of the artworks themselves. If you were to look at it from your own unique lens, what were your favorite words when it came to those?
Okay, my favorite two words for sure were identity and unconscious, which are at the center of my work in a way. And so that's why it was so interesting to try to widen up these two topics that generally in my works are even too much cannibalizing in a way all the shades that are around these two huge topics. And so the work that we made on really taking the time to have a conversation, about these topics, to exchange opinions about this topic, to for example speak about like big datas in a way can influence our society and our behaviors, or how they will even more, how all our actions, words, and preferences are recorded constantly somewhere, stored somewhere, and who knows what's what actually is going to happen with all this data one day. So there were many really, to a certain time it was also like a very I don't want to use, I mean, it was in a way an intellectual debate, okay, because we all had kind of very solid opinions and not always aligned, and it's amazing to see to actually that then the exchange and in a way the crash of some opinions then released new ideas and new inspirations, where I think I and Hackatao then went to really finalize the work, because of course for me unconscious and identities and identity is extremely important. But I think that with this work I kind of explored the same topic but in a completely different way, and this is very interesting for me. This is super interesting for me.
Let me flip the question. So I asked you what your favorite words were. And Eleonora, I'll change the question slightly. What was an interesting, not necessarily your favorite, but an interesting aspect of the art itself? So speaking for yourself, Eleonora, and looking at the end product of all of these Sunday morning meetings and the collaborative spirit. But when you sat back and you looked at it all, talk to us about a nuance of the artwork that made you feel something.
When I see the final works, I thought that it was probably one of the most contemporary portrait that I've ever seen right now. Obviously, I know the story and I know the artists, but it is so contemporary to see what they created in the shape of portraits. So this collection of portraits, like they have everything inside, and it comes in an understandable shape because they have the shape of human beings. That was very interesting to me, like understandable access to very deep and to this ocean that we were talking about.
Did you all ever consider a chronology or a documentation of some sort? Oh, I mean, it's funny. The entire experience, right, is a documentation in its own regard. But I sit here and I am fascinated hearing all of you discuss things from your own points of view and from this collaborative point of view, thinking about the Sunday mornings, thinking about SkyGolpe's, approach and Hackatao's approach, and those both staying true to the approach and also stretching outside of that approach and considering new things. I mean, I love those Sunday mornings. That's the origin story in my mind right now. So it is fascinating. Let's stay on the topic of collaborations. Let's stay. Actually, before we get there, a little pause here. Joff says, "Hey all," and Hackatao in the chat says, "Hey Joff," and Joff loving the chat tonight. Appreciate you. And Heroes Gamos Band says, "Serena, amazing speech." So back. That was an amazing speech, by the way. All right, collaborations in crypto art, maybe as compared to collaborations elsewhere. Any commentary there? And Sky, let's pass the mic back to you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for me, like as I was also saying to Eleonora when we are having this conversation, like before jumping in the NFT space, I actually I never collaborated so much, okay, but I knew this was a very a big limit of myself, and I was always like, I want to change this, okay. So when crypto art manifested, I was like, okay, now is the perfect time to move from the words to the facts, okay. And from the beginning, and actually, all my first pieces were collaborations in the NFT with Mattia Cuttini, I made Alectin, for example, the first piece on Super Rare. So from day one, I really got this as a mission almost, because I idealized before the importance of it, but I never actually tried it. And now that basically in 1 year I made, I don't know, more than 10, 12, 13 collaborations, I can say that that's the best choice that I could have made, because I feel every time I feel like almost like a different person, so the times of crypto art and NFTs are already so rushed, and so you never have so much time to really stop and like think about what happened, because like the timing is so speed up that you rarely have that moment. And so I took advantage of this on basically constantly evolving. So I'm kind of scared when I will stop and just think about what happened, how my mind will process this, because so far it's been like a constant evolution. And that's the thing that I love the most about this. Is really like evolution, contamination, challenge. Don't let your mind to rest, don't let it go in a comfortable zone, always push it harder. And there is no better way to do that than to have to deal with someone that you respect and that you love and that you admire. So this is my take on collaborations, really.
Serena or Eleonora, anything to add there on collaborations? And then, of course, we have to get to the drop itself, the collection itself on Nifty Gateway, and into the specificities there, because there's some interesting topics to touch on. But while we're on the topic of collaborations within the crypto art space, any commentary there?
Yeah, I'm going to add something to it. I think a collaboration is a bit like a relationship, I will dare to say. You get to know each other, you get to know who you are, communicating with. And I think, yes, in essence, is communication and the ability of communicating, not letting this bubble isolating you, but actually open up to anything that can happen. And if you allow that, anything can happen. And I think this is the proof that crypto art has allowed so many people to actually find those precious moments and give it a visual representation, a visual manifestation, which it's not just the NFT, it goes beyond that. And I think in the real world, unfortunately, because of distance and because we as humans tend to follow all the rules that we have to follow, given the country we live in, or different societies and structures that we don't even realize, but they're embedded within us. I think all these paradigms are scrapped in the crypto art space, and I think we can simply just allow ourselves to be more connected to who we are. And I think this series, in a way, represents that nature, that inner willingness of connecting with other human beings. And the fact that technology is allowing this, the fact that technology that often feels so far, so distant to humans, in a way, is helping us reconnecting. And that's the spirit I would love to highlight from this collaboration.
Serena, that's your second wonderful speech of the day. I think I speak for many. All right, Eleonora, anything to add there?
Well, this is the time in the art space, of course, for collaboration. I don't think that we ever seen so many collaborations before. The interdisciplinary mix that it's created in the crypto art space is fascinating. Never happened before. It's like the music industry came strongly into the NFT world, and why? Because the way of like enjoying music and digital art, crypto art is very similar, because technology allows many different kinds of art and disciplines to come together. And one of the most interesting things is that, like, if we talk about the value of the art, is that the traditional art world doesn't reward collaboration. Pretty much, like if you have Andy Warhol original art piece is better and more valuable than Andy Warhol collaborating with someone else. While here, the act of collaboration is like what happens in music when you have a feature. If you have, I don't know, like a Beyonce and a Gaga, or a Beyonce featuring Gaga, is more precious than the separate tracks. And that's pretty much what's happening in the crypto art space. Very interesting that collaboration is so valued also in terms of like market. And then of course there is the whole philosophical, I mean, the blockchain, the web first cuts the space and time, so we're all connected, and the blockchain even like makes possible for many times, because of anonymity, to just for your art to be appreciated without even knowing who you are. And so for people from different countries and different social and economic stages to collaborate, I think this is an exciting time.
Indeed.
And if I can add something also, I think the very unique thing about crypto art is that basically under the same roof and in the same circuit, there are artists with completely different styles. Okay, whereas in the traditional art world, it's much more sectorialized, okay, and it's much more already divided by type of artists, that they, in a way, they all kind of compete in the same sector, okay. And I think that's why also collaborations are happening so naturally in the crypto art space, because artist feeds of contaminations in a way, and here there are the perfect conditions to make this happen. Even like, you know, the system as it is structured and the moment in time where we are, it is the perfect bread and butter for this, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an incredible point, because things can go one of two ways. Things can, in a way, begin to mimic what you speak of, right, in the other world, or things could stay a bit more decentralized and invite in these types of collaborations. Either way, it's amazing and special. But imagine if things do drift a little bit towards what you were saying, right, in the other space, that makes this time even that much better, even that much, you know, let's appreciate what's going on right now. Let's appreciate the openness. Let's appreciate that level of collaboration, whichever way it goes, but especially if it does start to drift over.
Look, I'm a realist. I believe in cycles. And so I'm just blessed to live this time right now as it is like this now. Okay. I don't have any expectations for the future. Like I simply feel blessed to live this renaissance as it is now. And I know I'm very lucky and I'm enjoying it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing wrap to that point. And now I would feel remiss if we did not spend a nice chunk of time here talking about Friday, talking about the collection on Nifty Gateway. I was reviewing you have this wonderful graphic up on Twitter, which breaks down every artwork and every which way that artwork will be distributed. But I don't want to talk about it. I want you to talk about it. So why don't we start back with Serena? Thoughts on the structuring of this? It's very unique.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's, we've been playing a lot with the fact that we wanted to create a dynamic in this drop and the fact that we wanted to get the audience involved. And I think it's interesting to see how the artists have actually opened up and wanted to create opportunities for people to appreciate the work, but also to participate in some ways or forms. So I think it's interesting to see how artists are also now thinking from different perspectives and not just from the artist standpoint, but actually embracing, all other possible factors, the fact that curatorial is included, the fact that the audience itself can actively participate in the artwork in itself. So I think it's an entire new movement that hasn't been seen before, or at least is it's been created and it was born out from the crypto art movement. So I love to see how this keeps developing and how those dynamics keep evolving in some ways. I think for all the details, probably Eleonora and SkyGolpe can tell you more about how the actual drop is being structured, but those were kind of like the motives behind the organization of the drop.
Sky, get ready. The mic's coming to you next, but real quick to do our shout outs of the moment. Untitled XYZ is here. It says, "Hi all, good luck with the drop. Beautiful work and fascinating topic about collaborations. Loved hearing about the nature of collabs in the traditional versus crypto art world. Great discussion." Victor Mascara is here sending hearts and a rocket. And Space Painter is here saying, "Hi fam." Victor and Space Painter, what's going on? Thank you for joining us.
Hi guys.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I know most of these people, and I just, thank you so much for joining this chat. It's wonderful to see your comments.
Sky, the floor is yours.
Sure. Okay. So we really wanted to go more on the experimental way, even on approaching the drop. And so we really took our time to think about this also almost as a piece itself in a way. So I think the drop is really well balanced. Like we have some open editions to a kind of an entry point where, I think is a good chance also for new collectors to, in a way, jump in and, get to know our work better and collect some pieces. I think in the body of the drop, we really look to kind of preserve scarcity in a way, which we both think is a very important element, to be honest. And the final aspect is really like the new mechanism of the drawing in a way, which is nothing as super extremely new, but in a way was an experiment for us, So the magic, the game, for example, the number 23, it's something funny is that Hackatao really loves the number 23. So somehow we had to fit this number 23. And I was obsessed by this 23 because, this. So it was very funny to build this. It was really like a game, somehow an experiment. We took our time. It was not made like in session or something. It was under several changes. And then the most important aspect was that actually the mission was to make a complete event, a complete drop, meaning starting, from the art, starting from this concept, starting from the curation, and actually having a show which will be open on Arium, and maybe Serena or Eleonora can say something more about that. But actually there will be an open event on the day of the drop where everyone will have the chance to join, and it's going to be a SkyGolpe Hackatao exhibition, and we really spend some time on making a special place there too. So I think in this case the keyword was like to make something really complete that was going on the top of the sale, on the top of the auction, it was really to that. In fact, this was a very long project. It took lots of energy and lots of time to make it as now it is enveloping, and that's why I'm so proud about it. I'm very tired, but I am super proud about it because I think we really managed to fulfill the mission, which was to create this whole dimension and not just the drop. Is is a dimension that touch several aspects that for both of us, I and Hackatao, are super important.
Just to jump in there real quick, we have Space Painter asking if there's a link to view any of this. And I have let me just confirm this is the best place for everyone to go. And this is the place that I certainly gravitated to. And Hackatao had a graphic. It's this big, beautiful graphic, multi-colors, and it really breaks down not only the artworks with nice visuals and titling, but also exactly how the artworks are interacted with within this complete collection.
Yeah, the mechanism of the drop, and you can. So there is this post from Hackatao today. I posted a trailer where you can actually see a sneak peek on my Twitter, and tomorrow we will unveil more and more works. And then just a couple of hours before of the drop on Nifty, there will be this open exhibition, and I think that I actually advise you, to go and have a look and check how the pieces look with this experience, because I was very impressed, and so I definitely advise people to go and have a look.
Wonderful. And Eleonora, could you double down on that? Could you take us on a tour? Take us on a word tour right now of exactly what we can expect. So we sit here today. It is Wednesday, approaching 5 p.m. Eastern time. Walk us through Thursday into Friday and break it down for us.
Yeah, first of all, I was one of the victims of the mechanism of the drop. I was like, call me now. I don't understand this. What's happening here? If you own this, then you can win this, and then you have to beat this, and then otherwise I was like, what is it? So now I got it. Everything is fine. So we have the graphic, we have the roles. It's very interesting, of course. But sometimes it's very clear to them because they're very used to, first of all, they're very used to how like the Nifty gateway platform works. But like it's just in their mind. So yeah, it will be fun. It will be not interactive, but inclusive. As for the tour, so on the day of the drop, we'll also have this show on Arium, as Kai was saying. Arium is this platform that I had the pleasure to meet these guys a few months ago, and I was impressed by the platform because it is the only one in the virtual world, I believe, where when you log in, you are a living and moving cube with your face, like your webcam and your microphone. And it works like in real life, meaning that if you get far from each other, the voice is going to disappear, and very much reproducing reality, but very fun. Of course, we had to find, escamotage for all these crypto collectors who don't want to reveal their face or the name. So everything is fine. You can come, you can cover your face, you can put your photo. You don't have to type your name, but at least we will be very happy to see moving cubes. And but that's for real. Like, it's a super addition to the virtual space. It is social. Like, you can actually interact. There is a chat, but there is the social. We had an opening there a few months ago with Hackatao for Promised Land RPs, and it was one of the most fun days of my whole quarantine. I was meeting people, friends were coming, I can see them, and I can talk to them. So really come, just to have some fun. Then me and Serena will present the project as we did today from a podium. Also, the way that the space is structured is that there is a space where you can speak from, and the whole space, the museum or the gallery, everybody can hear from any point. All the pieces will be shown there, and we will have a little archive room, which is a room that I really care about, where people can see the making of the art pieces and like the palette, the mood board, and how, like the time lapse of the creation of the artworks. And yes, so we, as Mattia, as SkyGolpe was saying, we really wanted to create a whole. We were like, okay, we need to be well equipped here. We just do everything, like articles and art show and drop and something fun and curatorial. And I think that we did it.
I have to ask, when all of this is said and done, and Friday is fabulous, and it sounds like you have a number of different interactive things going on for collectors, for community, for everybody. Sunday morning rolls around. Will you have a Sunday morning meeting?
No, I don't think so, mate.
I don't think so.
That's a good point. That's a good point, though. That was a good point, though. Maybe the Sunday after.
The next Sunday, the next one.
We'll take a break. We'll take a short break.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure. Just to do the last debriefing. Like it would be nice. But maybe that Sunday, I don't know. And let me add, like, a very nice thing is that for the creation of the space, our goal was to represent the unconscious. So I don't want to spoiler more, but like the goal was to create the unconscious. And so the pieces, basically, they will emerge from this unconscious dimension.
Well, if they didn't change it again, because every time that I go back to the space, I find something new, which is Hackatao and SkyGolpe went in and talked to the guy of the space and let him change things. So who knows?
No worries. Now we are quiet. We have been quiet today, so everything should be in place.
This is a suspenseful cliffhanger. There may be some more surprises to come, some more visual surprises. So as we wrap here, just want to give each of you the mic one more time. Serena, it's been a pleasure. Any last words?
Thank you for having us. It's been fantastic collaborating on this project. And I think that really gave us the opportunity to come together and, to come out of it refreshed. And I think we got to know each other better and better and get a sense of what our unconscious has to tell us.
And Eleonora, on behalf of yourself and Hackatao, any closing words today?
Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you, Hackatao and SkyGolpe, for including us in this project. It was nice to see what archetypes the fourth of us are included in and deep a little in our unconsciousness. And yeah, we'll wait for you all to come to the event and have some fun.
And SkyGolpe, how about you?
I want to say that I have really enjoyed your format and your program. So for me, it's a total pleasure and honor, and really thanks for having us. And just a final word. I hope that people will enjoy this drop as much as I and Hackatao enjoyed to make that.
Fantastic. Well, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of community members, collectors, you name it, whoever the people are in the space, that this is a milestone collection. It's a powerhouse in here. It is not only a collaboration, it is a co-curation collaboration as well, which I find fascinating. A lot of brilliant minds. I mean, this hour was incredibly enlightening for me as well, just to see the level of thought that was behind this, not only within the artworks themselves, but also those Sunday mornings that I can't get my mind off of, and just walking it forward in terms of how you approached it and philosophized on it, tying things to crypto art collaborations and beyond. Serena, your ocean analogy sticks with me. So I hope if you're joining late, please go back. There really were some gems dropped that transcend even the special nature of this collection into the space as a whole. Friday, we'll all be there. Thank you all for joining us on Origin Stories. And
of course, thanks Eleonora and Serena, because they were really amazing, as you all could notice, I guess. So yeah, thanks so much to you as well, girls.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice one. Ciao.
See you on Friday. Bye.